Never judge a book by its cover. Isn't that how the saying goes? At age 35, I was forced to make a decision that would change my life forever. A decision that I live with each and every day. This is my story, a life in transition. Hello everybody, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, and to especially my mom in general. It's funny, I got a card from a friend, a Mother's Day card for the first time. I thought that was very, very cute. Thank you, Ricky. Anyway, I thought I would share a story about when I actually told my mom, that I was, that I felt I was transgendered, and what kind of an experience that was. It was actually a very, very good one. My mom and me have always been very, very close, and she's an exceptionally phenomenal woman, and she's always been there for me as far as for emotional support as a child. Just anything I ever needed, she was there for, and she always cooked us hot meals, and she was basically my role model and my main influence, and she was someone that I looked up to very, very much. And so when it came time to talk to her about it, what was going on is she was, I was having these seizures, and my mom, I felt so bad for her because she was spending all this time on the computer, and she was looking up, what possibly it could be, because it seemed like the hospitals and the specialists weren't giving us any answers. It was just, it was like trying to give me a Band-Aid fix and then send me down the road. So she ended up doing hours and hours and hours of research, and finally when UC Davis gave us the diagnosis that it was a non-epileptic seizure, they were going to send me to therapy for it, and it was due to mental stress or some sort of trauma that I had buried, or just basically there's no physical reason for it. So it was basically induced by stress, or it was a mental issue. And when they told me that, I just knew right off the gate what it was. And you can't go your whole life stressing about people finding out and hiding and being ashamed and everything like I did for 33 years, 32 years, or whatever it was before my seizure started, and not get kind of messed up in your head a little bit, I guess. I didn't realize it would make you have seizures or whatnot, but needless to say, it did me, and I'm sure it happens to other people out there as well. So anyway, I was very, very nervous about telling my anybody for that matter. I had a friend of mine that I had told prior, and then I had one other friend that knew, and that was it. And in a world of people that thought I was just a straight, standard, normal male, who was a father and an ex-husband, and a husband at one point. But anyway, so what I did is I was very scared that I was going to lose my mom and my daughter. Those were the two people in my life that I just could not live without. In fact, the thought of ever losing either of them is too much for me to even consider, to ponder. Anyway, so what I did was I was like, well, how am I going to explain this to my mom? And I wanted her to see me for me right off the gate. I wanted to, because I felt like he was one of the most important people in my life that there ever was. And I felt like I was lying to her. I felt like it was, I felt like she didn't know the real me, and out of all the people in my world at the time, I wanted her to hear it from my mouth. And so anyway, I had to talk to her about the seizure thing and tell her I think I know what it was about. So I made this little collage of me, and I was dressed in drag, full drag, with a wig and everything, and I just went up and told her, and I said, Mom, I need to talk to you. And so we went outside on the deck, and I told her I think I know what's wrong with me, why I'm having seizures, and she goes, well, what's that? I go, well, then I just turned my computer around, and I just let the screen, the slideshow play, and at first she didn't say anything, and I got really nervous, and I explained to her that I had felt that way since I was a child, and that was the real me. And I remember she started crying just a little bit, and I was crying a little bit, and she just said she wished that she would have known. They didn't know how to. They weren't educated about it back then. They didn't know how to handle a transgender child, or even if they did see the signs, they would probably just want to be in denial about the thing. It wasn't as mainstream as it is now, and I certainly wasn't going to talk to anybody about it. And back then, it was I thought people would kill me, So I never brought it up, and but she said, I wish I would have seen the signs, or I wish I would have known to look for it, because it must have been a hard road for me to walk. With this huge weight on my chest about keeping everything secret, and just growing up in the type of household that I did. My household was a very masculine household, and anything but that, when you have three brothers, would just be devastating. So I often wondered, how my childhood would have played out if they knew back then, and how my life would have played out if I knew that then. In many ways, I had a good life. In many ways, I had lived life to the fullest. Like I said, I was a dad, I was a husband, I was a singer in a band, and I was a foreman, I was all these other things, and I can't say that I regret my life, and I can't say that I had a bad life, but I can say that I wish I had lived a different life. Needless to say. So she answered a bunch of questions that I had about my childhood and about things, and obviously she had a bunch of questions she needed to ask me as well. And when it was all said and done, we both hugged, and at that point she was the only one in my family who knew, and she carried the secret for me for about a year and a half before I told anybody else. I wanted to make sure my daughter knew first before I told anybody else, and so she carried that with me, and she also helped support me in getting into the right doctors and things like that to get this ball in motion. Needless to say, I didn't actually tell her that I was going to transition until it was already a year into it. We had talked. I set up appointments to go to transgender doctors, and she was going to give me rides and things. And it's funny. I just ordered some hormones offline, and the second I started taking them, my seizures just basically stopped. And so basically, I just kept ordering them online for the next year, and I didn't really bring it up to my mom again much after about the first month or so, month and a half, and it worked. It worked for me. My seizures stopped, and then when I finally did tell my mom that I had started the transition and I had been on hormones for a year already, she just looked at me and said, "Wow, you're going to do this?" And I said, "I have to do this, Mom." And don't get me wrong, she was never but anything but supportive and loving my entire life, and nothing changed at that point. She still holds me together. She's still my rock. So thank you, Mom, for everything, and holding me together as far as being a part of the family. I mean, me and my brothers, we haven't really talked in like years. You know what I mean? I can't remember the last time that I went to one of their houses, or vice versa. And it seems now more than ever, it's like the transition has separated us even further now. I've seen two of my two older brothers, and they just don't know what to think of it, I don't think. So my mom, she's the go-to person. I'm always in the middle of leaving the house with family dinner or something, and I'm walking away, and I'm asking my mom, what was going on? No one talks about it. It's like this elephant in the room that no one wants to acknowledge. In fact, the last time we all got together, it was like my brother had gotten a new truck, and it was the first time I had seen him in a long, long time. I mean, I looked extremely, insanely different, and I remember they go outside and they look at the truck for 15 minutes and they're talking about how great the truck is, and they didn't even acknowledge, or didn't even mention the fact that I was doing this, and it was just a weird feeling. So here I am trying to wrap my mind around that. Like, how do you spend time looking at a truck and then avoid the whole issue of you're basically your brother turning into a woman, you know what I mean? And so my mom eased my mind with that too. She said, that they understand, they support me, but they don't know. Actually, she said that they didn't understand, but they supported me, and that they're not going to judge me, but they have no idea why I'm doing it, and they don't know. And they don't know what's going through my mind, but at the same time, all they have to do is ask, and I encourage them to ask, because it sucks being alone on this when you're going through it. And if you have siblings and things like that, it's nice if you can maintain a relationship with them. But like I said, it's not like our relationships have been good for the last 3 years anyway. So my brothers, I love you guys anyway, and I hope one day we'll be able to see eye to eye and be able to talk like we used to. But Mom, I love you. Thank you for everything. Happy Mother's Day. Grandma, aunties, my cousins, my brother's wives, happy Mother's Day to everybody. Sue, happy Mother's Day. And I'll talk to you next week. If you guys feel like subscribing, go ahead and click the subscribe button. One more mom I got to mention in this video is my mother-in-law, Irma. She's been very supportive and very open with me, and she's a big part of my life as well. So Irma, I thank you, and happy Mother's Day as well. Anyway, next week I'm going to be talking about something that happened to my daughter at school that had to do with me. It's like my worst fears come true. Now my daughter's life is going to be affected by what I'm doing, and even though she's 2,000 miles away from me, it's still going to affect her life. So anyway, like I said, hit the subscribe button, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.